EP85, the U.S.S. Enterprise D tutorial. I'm Zero Elite, and I just want to thank everybody again for tuning in today's episode. And if you haven't, please don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button and helping me and supporting the channel. I can't thank you enough for that. Today we got somewhat of a long one, 27 minutes. We're going to be picking up where we left off, working on our bridge exterior, and of course, going into the Discord. If you haven't joined my Discord channel, be sure to join. I will have a link in the description below. I'm currently working on developing the community within my Discord to build that up. It'll be a great place to meet new friends. If you have questions, want to post your own builds, highly recommend it. I have a Discord channel for a couple other things that I have going on with like the art community, and it's definitely, I think, will be a great thing for the Star Trek community within Minecraft and just the building community in general. So be sure to definitely check that out. But yeah, we're going to be getting into today's episode here. We're just going to go ahead and jump right into this. So what we're going to be doing here is going along, and let me actually back up a little bit so you can see exactly where we're going to be making this change to. So this oval right here, the primary oval, that's, well, the second oval that the bridge is sitting on. So this would be the first one, this is the second one. We're going to be going off this row of half slabs here, the bottom row, and we're going to be replacing that with white concrete. All right, we're in pretty good shape so far. We're not doing anything crazy. We're just following our previous pattern with our half slabs, just replacing it with a white concrete block. And we're going to be doing this going all the way around. Now, one of the reasons I'm doing this is just to give some color and differentiation between the ovals. Because one of the things that you notice on the Enterprise D is it really doesn't have that much pinstriping on it. And from a distance, you really don't see, if at all, any detailing on the ship. It's really when you get closer to it that you see all the detailing that it has with the Aztecing. And I'm not really sure that that's something that we're going to be doing for the Enterprise D, because with all the things that I already have going on with this build, we're talking that we're probably going to be getting into the hundreds easily on episodes. And there's a couple of reasons that we're not going to be doing it. The main one is that if there were, well, let me put it this way. If there were a full spectrum color of half slabs, I'd be able to pull it off. But without that, it's going to be very difficult to build that out and have that Aztecing detail within the configuration of the ship that I have. So for that reason, you're probably not going to see it. And if I do end up doing any of it while I'm working on the exterior of the ship, it'll be minimal, if at that. So there will be other things that will be doing the detail of the ship, like highlighting the ovals, maybe adding in little pinstripes here and there to highlight certain sections of the ship to bring it out a little bit more and make it look just a little bit prettier, maybe, than how the Enterprise D itself or a Galaxy class looked. So now with this layer here, I told you guys to fill this in with all the row behind the half slabs that we added in Monday's episode. So if you haven't done that, let's go ahead and do that. And I normally fast forward through that, but I don't recall if I actually did that in today's episode. So I think that we're gonna cruise on ahead just a little bit here. Yeah. I only did one section of it, and then I end up filling it all in. So now you should have something that looks like this. And now it'll make a little bit more sense that this oval here stands out just a little bit more than what we had before. So now what we're going to do is this row of the white concrete that we added, we're going to do another layer of half slabs going along that line, directly behind the white concrete. And the reason that we're doing that is we're fixing the lip, because right now there's a 2 block gap. We really only want that to be 1. There we go. See, it looks nice and clean. We could even get away with, to be honest with you, we could add another row of half slabs directly above the row that we're adding in here, going one back and up. But I don't know if we're going to. So I say the best thing to do is just take your time, think about what you want to do. I've been working on this thing since February. It's already the end of the year, and there's no rush. There's no rush. This thing will be done when it's done, and it'll be worth the wait, because you got to think that we're taking all this time to build this thing out. Why start rushing now just to get things done on it? Now, also bear in mind where I'm at on the build is a lot further along than where you guys are right now, because I'm only able to do 3 episodes a week, to where I can get out, so this way I don't get burnt out and things like that, and also with work and everything going on. Um, but I'm a lot further along than you guys are. So definitely take that into consideration too. But all things considered, even what we have, the pace that we're going with the YouTube channel also, we're making some pretty good strides here. We've gotten a decent amount of work done here, and I'm pretty happy with the progress that we've made so far. You can see that corner right there. I didn't like that. We're going to fix that over here. So let me just zoom back out so you can see where we're going to be fixing that. I think it's this row right here and this row right here. We're going to bring that out by 1 more. Yep. So it's going 1, 2, 3. It's the 3rd row in. Now that is going to differentiate now from our cut line here, but that's okay. Like, in all honesty, you can veer off from following the cut line when you feel that you have to. And I don't know why, but the front of that oval there, it didn't look right with the shape that we had, and that's because we made an alteration to it, because I didn't want to go into the pixel circle generator and figure out the headache of generating a new oval outline to get it perfect. So there's going to be some discrepancies here and there where we're not dealing with a perfect oval now because we've edited it. But you really can't tell. And if you take the time to look for things that stand out, like those 2 blocks that we just did, you can start to spot some of those things out. Okay, so now we're going to be moving on into the next part in today's episode. And we're going to be doing a little bit more work on the bridge. Basically what we're doing right now is we're just doing a row of white concrete along our half slab outline. Because right now we're looking towards the back of the ship, this would be considered the back wall. And one of the reasons I'm doing this is because I want to gauge to see how much room I'm going to have to work with for the conference room. Now we can get rid of some of this right here, but be very careful. We don't really want to go up more. This is just leftovers from what we had before. So we have a little bit of room to work with here, but not that much. But still, now you can understand why I extended out this back area here, because this that space didn't exist before. So essentially, what we're building right now is the outline for what our actual bridge is going to be, and we're going to try to make all the rooms that are going to be on the bridge, well, connected to the bridge, will be on the outsides, of course. Um, but this is a great way to start working on that template. This is one of the things I talk about. Build out your foundations, figure out where things are going to go ahead of time, because when you start thinking about these things, it's going to help you, and where you're basically planning it out. That's the best way I can describe it. Plan out what you're doing, because the last place you want to be is where it's like, well, you don't think about that and like, oh, well, I'll just do that later. Like, well, what if you build it out and it turns out you have no room to add those extra areas on the ship. So this is again, why if you're wanting to incorporate those areas, why it's important to plan it out. Now, if you're not really too concerned about it, or it's like, well, I'm not really going to do the conference room, and I'm just not going to do the captain's ready room. Well, then you know what? You can make your bridge a little bit larger. But here's the thing too. Enterprise D bridge, while it is pretty big, it's not massively big. So keep that in mind when you're building this thing out. You don't want to make it super, super large, even though we've got the room to do it. Um, that's something that I've even had to check myself with during the course of this build, because one of the things I've been talking about is building out these massively large rooms, but at the same time, you don't want to go so massive to the point that it's not only ridiculously big, um, but it's big to the point that you're just wasting space. This is one of the things that actually ended up being fantastic for the Enterprise D, because I was able to do everything that I wanted to do on the Enterprise D and have the room to do it in, and I wasn't confined by any space, and I just built exactly what I wanted to do. And if I had space in the sides or I had some dead space, I had some dead space, not really a huge deal. Now, one thing that you can see that I'm messing with here is what's going to end up being the very front of the bridge here, because the outline that we had, I'm deciding that I'm not liking that. Or at least the front. The back looks fine, but the front end, not so much. See, that looks a little bit better. Maybe we can even fill this front area in by one more. This way we actually have a nice, somewhat flat front here to fit our view screen. But you have to remember, and you have to think too, I'm looking at pictures of the Enterprise D bridge. This is what's kind of guiding me right now. You can see we have a little bit of room here on the side that we can fit our captain's ready room. So we have some room to play with. Now our previous doorways down here for what was going to be the bridge, those are going to be moved up. But we could still use them as templates to do what we wanted to do. So those cuts that we just made, the right side is going to be for our turbo lift, and the left side is going to be to go into the conference room. Now this is going to be another thing that we are going to mess with a little bit here, is the color palette to settle on. Because one of the things with the next generation is that color scheme, not only on the bridge, but in the corridors and everything, um, it's almost like a straight tan color. And other than the stand blocks on here, there really isn't a color on here that matches it. And I actually, believe it or not, I did try to make it work with sand blocks, but the problem that I ran into anyway, was that the texture wasn't right. And this is one of the reasons why I like using the concrete blocks so much on my ship builds, because it's really almost a flat color and it doesn't give you that any extra texturing. And you'll see me do stuff like that, but I only add in like texturing when I want it. When it comes to cases like this, well, most of the times when I'm building my ships, I try to, use straight colors and highlight it with textures. So you can see the wheels are turning now. I'm starting to think about the area now directly beneath the bridge, um, which is going to become our pretty much where we're at right now. This whole area here is going to end up becoming um, the facade for the cargo turbo lift room, and then also a turbo lift to go up not only into the bridge but in the lower sections of the ship as well. This is all going to be redone now, but now we've got the space to do it in. So you can start to understand why all the steps that we've made, why I made them, so that I'd have this room to do all of this, basically. I'm also trying to gauge here the actual leveling point that I should have this on. Um, I'm almost kind of thinking like maybe I should just bring it up by one more just so I have a little bit more space to work with directly below me, because it's going to be a tight fit. Which really isn't that big of a deal because everything that we just started to build out now for the bridge, we can just kind of slightly adjust this by one. Yeah, so see, now we'll have a little bit more area to work with here. This is the other thing too, that with the bridge, it actually steps down by one. So really, that was the main reason for moving up the bridge up by one, because the front section of it's going to be coming down by one. So we're really trying to free up as much headroom as we possibly can for the area directly beneath us. Because like I said, this whole area here is going to be directly connected now within the primary shuttle bay. But we can definitely make it work. I think here is actually a point where I actually considered making the front area of my bridge smaller, um, because really we've got all this extra room up here in the front that we're not necessarily going to need. Because I think that there's two more tweaks that we're going to be making to the exterior of the bridge. I think we're getting ready to do the second one, but then I end up hating the angle that it's going at, and then we have to slightly tweak it to make it work within, kind of bring it back to the shape that it's at now, but a little bit smaller, if that makes sense. Excuse me. Yeah, because everything passes cut line now going forward. We're going to be adjusting it to make it smaller now going off the template that we currently have. But you'll see what I mean when I'm done with it. It's going to be kind of making it going like almost like a hexagon angle in the front. And when it's done, I hate it. Like I absolutely hate it. And like I just want to rest assured that it's not going to be the finished exterior of the bridge. We're going to make one more slight revision of it in the front to kind of bring it back to what we have right now, just a little bit smaller, because This is one of the problems that I've had with making these tweaks to the exteriors that, again, we've already proportioned the ship out. So every time we make a tweak to the exterior of the bridge and make it a little bit bigger, it's going to slightly make it look out of place. So if we can kind of get back some of that and make it a little bit smaller, that's definitely the thing to do. And as you can see here, like, we're going to be making it just it's going to be considerably smaller now in the front, which we need. It'll kind of bring it back down to a little bit closer what it's supposed to be. But the shape that I settle on by today's episode is not it's not where it needs to be quite yet. There's going to be one more slight revision that we're going to have to make to it. I'm going to have to get rid of this row right here. Okay. Now we're in good shape. And, if I really wanted to, I could have left it the size that it was, but then the bridge just would have been kind of big. And to be honest with you, that's something that I had done with my 2016, my original 2016 Enterprise A. And that's something that the only thing that I don't like about the build was the exterior of the bridge. I ended up, and I've actually tweaked it a few times since I even put out that video. Showcasing it, and it's still like it's kind of not where I need it to be at this point. Now, when I built the Disco era Enterprise bridge, that came out fantastic, but there was a reason for that. Is that I changed the way that I built the bridge up. With the 2016 bridge, I used a majority of full blocks, and the Disco era Enterprise, I used half slabs for the bridge. And as you can see for the Enterprise D, I did the same thing. It can help you to make it a lot smaller because your cut line is a lot smaller as opposed to a full block. But again, the only thing that you really run into trouble with that is then with your detailing, you're limited on what blocks you can use unless you add it at the right height. Um, Otherwise, you have a handful of half slab blocks that you can really use. So we're not doing anything crazy at this point. We're literally just going with the cut line. You'll see what I mean when this is done, and it's already giving that like hexagon look in the front. I'm not a fan of how it's coming along in the front. We're gonna have to actually do it like off of add like maybe one or two rows of two instead of singles in certain spots to kind of oval it out a little bit more, because right now it kind of has that hexagon look going on in the front, and I'm just not feeling it one bit. But don't worry, do this too on your build, because if you want to have exactly what I have going on and make those changes that will be coming up, you'll want to have these same things. Because the revision that we're going to make, it's not going to be super drastic. It'll just kind of be to the front. All right, looking pretty good. Doing our last row of half slabs. Well, second to last row. Then we just have to do the hull line here and fill in all this stuff that we have extra. But it'll give you an idea of how much smaller the bridge has now become in the front. We've definitely shaved off what looks like at least 3 rows, which is great. Those 3 rows may not seem like a lot, but it definitely helps, and it'll help to bring down the scale of the bridge a little bit, because right now it's a little bit too big. All right, let's get this cleaned up, and then we're going to zoom out and take a look at it so you can see the front hexagon nightmare that I just created in the front. But no, seriously, it's not that bad. It just needs a slight tweak to get it where it needs to be, and then we'll be in good shape, and then we'll be focusing on the interior of the bridge to really get that going. But this is something that's vital that we have to do because, again, this is everything is tied in together. We've kind of planned out the area that we have directly below the bridge, that what's going to become uh, reserved for the shuttle bay, and we've got our turbo lifts in place, and we have room kind of set out for the conference room and also the captain's ready room. But yeah, you see what I mean? It's kind of got like that hexagon look in the front, and it's not really where it needs to be. It kind of needs to oval out here on the sides, and the back side here looks great. It's just the front side that's not. I mean, it doesn't look bad, but you know what it actually reminds me of is a bridge from the Section 31 ships from Discovery. Yeah, no, it's definitely gonna need just a little bit more work, but we're getting there. We're almost where we need to be on the bridge. And at this point, I'm just kind of checking it out from different angles, pretty much thinking about the same thing, that I'm not really crazy about the look of it, but at least it does bring it down a little bit by the size, and it's not as big as it used to be. Um, and then also adding in the extra layering that we did here, that helps a little bit. I think we're gonna finish up the rest of today's episode working on the interior of the bridge, basically just filling in our floor here on the back section. Because we're kind of winding down. We've only got the last 2 minutes to go. So we're not going to finish the bridge today. It definitely gives you a sense to work with what we have to work with. We've got some room. Now this underside here, we're going to get rid of some of this access that is just not going to make it into what we're going to be doing with this thing. As you can see, this is basically the cut that I have here is the shuttle bay control room. So like this will work out quite nicely. Now we'll actually have the room that we need to really flesh out this area, because this was something that I was thinking about when I started really working on the shuttle bay. Was like, oh man, I didn't start to plan out where my turbo lift's going to go, and I kind of stopped for like a week, and I just in my head started planning out what I need to do to make all of it work. And then over the course of the last 2 weeks, you've seen all the changes that we've made to facilitate that. This is why I say how important it is to plan your stuff out ahead, because if I hadn't planned it out, I would have really have put myself into a bind, because I would have been backtracking and completely redesigning areas, as opposed to right now where we kind of had like some foundations down, but nothing super, super major to where we were completely redesigning stuff. But we're looking pretty good. We were looking pretty good. So we're just freeing up some of the access here, getting rid of that to get a good idea of just how much room we have to work with. And I think we'll be in good enough shape to where we can do what we need to do. Now, the conference room, as you can see, it's not going to end up being as big as I want it to be because we're literally kind of right on the line of the room that we're going to have to work with, but we'll make it work. All right. I think that's going to wrap us up today. We've gotten a little bit of work done. But yeah, that's going to wrap us up. I just want to thank everybody again for tuning in today's episode. And of course, don't forget to check out my Minecraft episodes dropping Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Those videos usually drop at 7 p.m. Eastern. And of course, be sure to check out my Discord channel. It'll be a great place to meet new people. I'm still working on building up the community. And of course, if you want to post your builds or if you're getting stuck on a build that you're working on, you can always post in there and ask questions. Be happy to help. Um, but what else? No, I think that's going to be it. Oh, and of course, if you have any questions, be sure to drop a comment below, either in my YouTube channel or in Discord, or any builds you want to see me do. And yeah, I just want to thank everybody again for tuning in today's episode, and I hope everybody has a happy and safe week. Um, and